Good evening, everyone. So, we'll see today what dietetic rules are said in Ayurveda and how we can include them in our daily dietary regimen. So, basically, modern science, dietetics has instructions of calorie intake, some 2000 to 2500 approximately calorie intake, and the balanced diet constitutes of proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, etc. So that is how we have looked at diet or balanced diet usually. So Ayurveda has a slightly different perspective. It looks at food with its six tastes, which are Madhura Rasa, which is sweet, Sour, which is Amla, Lavana Rasa, which is salty, Pitta, which is bitter, Katu, which is pungent, and astringent, Kashaya Rasa. So these are the six tastes that are appreciated in Ayurveda. And also it looks at the gunas of the food and the rasas taken. Guna means the quality. It could be lagu or guru in nature. That is easy to digest. Light to digest is lagu. Guru is heavier to digest, difficult to digest. So Ayurveda looks at the rasas as well as the guna of the food that we intake. So Ahara is said to be Mahabhaishajya according to a treatise in Ayurveda, Kashyapa Samhita. So Mahabhaishajya means food is the best medicine. Even in modern science or in our day-to-day life, we know that small symptoms that we get in our daily life, we can counter with correcting our dietary regimen. A simple example is like if you are taking fruits or cold or refrigerated drinks during the evening, you have this phlegm building up in your throat in the next day morning, or you have a dull headache, a sinus headache because of the kapha phlegm building up in your body. So when you correct that regimen that you are doing, like you are taking food that is cold in potency, like fruits or refrigerated drinks in the evening time, and or if you switch to taking warm water, warm food during your daytime, then you can correct that symptom that forms. So food is definitely the first and foremost medicine that you have to give to your body. Again, ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi. Sattva shuddhau smridir dhruva. Smridir lambe sarva grandhina vipramoksha is said in an Upanishad sloka, which means that purity of mind will follow with purity of the food or good food. When you take good food, when you concentrate on the food that you take, if it is healthy, then it will lead to purity of mind and in turn will help you attain a clarity of your thoughts and memory and let you into a calm state of or healthy state of living. So how much should we take or how much is correct for you? The amount of food is important. In Ayurveda, we divide the kukshi or stomach into three or four parts. And we do not fill the entire stomach with food. We have to leave some amount of your stomach for water. One part should be left for water. One part should be left for food, one or two parts, and one part should be left as such empty for the three doshas. The three doshas are the pillars of our body according to Ayurveda, which when they are in balance, you have a healthy state of living, and when they are imbalanced, you have a disequilibrium or unhealthy state of living. So when you divide your stomach into three or four parts, you are only taking one third or half of the stomach with food, and rest is left for the three doshas and water. So every time when you have food in front of you, that point of satiety is like when you take one helping and then you feel like, should I Should I go for the second helping? Should I take little more? Actually, that should I question comes to you. That is where you have to stop, because after that point, you have to leave your stomach for some amount of water and breathe OJS. And you should not, overfill your stomach. Again, this quantity that is right for you depends upon two things. One is strength of digestive fire, that is Agni, which includes two things, Jarana Shakti and Agyavarana Shakti. That is how much of appetite, how much hunger you are feeling at that point, and also how much digestion happens in your body. Jarana Shakti. So two things, that is the strength of digestive fire, and also it depends upon the quality of food that you're taking. Again, like Krishna in nature, that is hot in potency, and excuse me, can you please mute yourself? Excuse me. I think one of you has to mute. Thank you. Okay, so second thing is quality of food, that is Lagu or Guru, and there are Vimshti gunas, this is 20 gunas that we say for any dravya. So Lagu is easy to digest, Guru is more difficult, it takes more time to digest. Similarly, you have Ushna and Shita. Ushna means it is hot in potency. Shita means it is cold in potency. Like that, you have some 20 different qualities of food. So that is also, what do you say, will determine how much is right for you, how much you should intake. Some examples of Guru Ahara, ready to digest preparations are those of flour, rice, flattened rice, sugarcane juice, sugar preparations, all the desserts, milk and milk preparations, those preparations that involve vigna, black gram, then till, sesame, then the flesh of aquatic animals and marshland animals. These are all difficult to digest, and hence these should be taken lesser in quantity as compared to Lagu Ahara, which are lighter. Then also an important concept is the sequence of taking the rasas during a particular diet. So first, in Ayurveda, it is said to take the Madhura rasa so that your vata is slightly reduced in the first part of your meal, but not consume a lot of Madhura, and a small amount of Madhura rasa in the beginning, followed by Amla and Lavana, which is salt and sour, and then the later part of the diet should be with Kadu Tikta Kashaya, which is pungent, bitter, and astringent in nature, which will reduce your kapha towards the end. So this is the order that is said in Ayurveda to take a meal. And we say that in Western diet, it is said that you usually take desserts at the end, which is not followed here. Actually, it was not followed here in our ancient times. Like we used to follow this pattern of Madhura, Amla, Lavana, Kadu, Tikta, Kashaya. But then with the globalization and everything, different cultures being adopted, we have changed our dietary patterns, and as a result, we have adopted a lot of diet-associated diseases. So important things that was 8 factors that are said in Ayurveda are these: Prakriti, Karana, Samyoga, Rashi, Desha, Kala, Upayoga Samstha, and Upayogta. So we'll see each of them. One is Prakriti, that is nature or natural attribute of a substance. Like I said before, you have the Vimshati Guna, that is what is Prakriti. So you know the black gram, Masha, which is Guru, like I told you before. Guru in nature, it take more time to digest, so you have to consume it lesser in amount. The green gram, which is familiar, it is something called Sadapatya, that means you can take it every day, and it is lighter to digest. Next is Karana. Karana means processing. While you're processing any food, you will impart some properties to that food. It could be any kind of processing like diluting and water, boiling, churning, infusing, steeping, and it also depends on what food is stored in which material or which vessel, like a copper vessel or an earthen pot, and also the storage time you store it for how long. All that comes under processing or karana, and that also affects the quality of the food. An example is curd. Such, if you take, it increases inflammation or shofa, it is called in Ayurveda. By which of the curd dilute with water and add some spices and make buttermilk, it will reduce the inflammation in the body or shofa in the body, and it is a good probiotic. Samyoga is combination of substances. Just like Karana, Samyoga is another step where you combine substances and it will give a different property. A good example, like my colleague said in the last class, if you had attended it, it is a Samyoga Viruddha. An example was combining honey and ghee in equal quantities. So if you combine honey and ghee in equal quantities, it is said that it is poisonous in nature and you should not do it. Next thing is Rashi. Rashistu Sarva Graha Parigraho Matra Amatra Phala, which means in Ayurveda you take into consideration the entire, the whole food as such, how much you're taking, that we discussed before. It depends upon your Agni as well as the quality of the food you're taking. And Parigraha is the quantity or composition of each of the ingredients in your food. For example, there are different methods of preparation told in Ayurveda. One example is preparing yabagu or rice gruel. It is said that you should take 6 times water for 1 part of rice. So that is again parigraha. The amount is specified, and anything more or less would be detrimental to health. And then there is desha punaha sthanam, where the dravya has utpatti or prachara. That is called desha samya. It is always ideal to take food which is endemic or locally grown in the region you are living. So these vegetables like avarikalu, that is hyacinth beans, and sime badanakkai, chow chow in some people call it, and chayot in some call it. So these are very commonly taken in Bangalore, I hear. So that is endemic or locally grown in this area. So that would be more suitable to people living in Bangalore. Kala is in has two components. One is season. In the second class, we had Rutucharya or seasonal regimens being described. So in that, we had learned about what all kind of diets you have to follow in each of the Ritus. So you may remember that in Varsha Ritu, it is better to take normal honey. Or during the Hemant, the winter season, your Agni will be more. So you can take Guru Ahara. You will have
oh, very good.
Guru Ahara. So that is in pertaining to seasons. And on the standpoint of a disease condition, you would take an example of Jwara or febrile conditions in Ayurveda, where when you have the initial stage of Jwara, that is Navajwara, we do not advise or we contraindicate milk for the patient. And in a chronic state of Jwara, that is Jirna Jwara, milk is advocated. So that is Kala. In case of for a healthy person, you should follow the diet that is said according to Rutucharya, and for a disease specific also, there are specific dietary regimens that have followed. Upayoga Samstha is the dietary rules that is solely dependent upon your Jirna Lakshana, which is the symptoms of proper digestion. Usually we do not, you do not give any concentration, or you do not pinpoint upon these lakshanas. We just look at the time, whether it is 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and then we go have lunch and dinner per se. But according to Ayurveda, we should actually look at all these symptoms and see whether your previous meal is digested or not. And what are these symptoms? One is clear belching, where it should be. Enthusiasm, utsaha, the activeness you feel, not fatigue. Laguda is lightness. Then you will have shuk pipasa, that is hunger and thirst. And you have anterior bowel and bladder. So when you attain all these symptoms, it means that your previous meal has been digested. Upayogta is none other than the consumer itself who consumes the food. So here one important concept is that okasatmya, wherein this is habituation that is attained by practice. So you could say an example of tea. Tea is something that you have been taking for many years. Although it comes under one type of viruddha in Ayurveda, you don't find any detrimental that amount of detrimental effects because of consuming tea. So that is one example of okasatmya wherein that tea or any dietary pattern that you have been following since your childhood have become habituated to you by practice and it is not causing any bad effects to your health. Next is the methods of taking meals. Ahara Vidhi Vidhana. According to Ayurveda, there are some set of rules for taking meals. One thing is that it should be Ushna, warm in nature, and Snigdha, unctuous. Then it should be in proper quantity, which we have dealt with previously. Then it also should be after the previous meal has been consumed, properly digested, like we said before. Then it should not be Virya Viruddha. It should not be Viruddha to the constitution of your body as well as not Viruddha to the Viryas, as in like we have dealt with it in the previous class. And also you should take it in a favorable place with favorable accessories, not too fast, not too slow, and you should have complete concentration on the food and not interrupt the process of eating by talking and laughing and engaging yourself in other activities. You should have sole concentration on the food you're taking. So why warm and unctuous food? Because it is, of course, appealing to the senses. You have better bioavailability. It will improve your digestion and it will pacify the vata dosha. If you take dry and cold food, it will increase your vata dosha, which is detrimental to your digestion. Again, but still, cold food and drinks are advocated in certain conditions, which is burning sensation or excessive thirst, bleeding disorders like Rakta Pitta, poisoning, dizziness and weakness. These conditions, cold food and drinks are advocated. Also, it is known to you that you should eat calm in a peaceful place with favorable accessories because it is satisfying to yourself, to oneself. Nowadays, we do not have time for all that. We eat from a tiffin in a work area without much time. In some 10-15 minutes, we finish it off. So we will not be concentrating on the food and this will affect our digestion. So eating too slow will not give you satisfaction also. You may not understand how much amount you are consuming. You will not have your full concentration in that and the food will be digested irregularly. And if you eat too quickly, what happens is that it might go into the wrong passage and you may not actually understand what all tastes you're taking, any defects are there in the food, or that will not be ascertained by you. And this concentration in the food is also important because it is for it is to satiate your agni that you're taking the food and not for just because it is time and you have to finish that meal you are taking the food. You have to have that concentration to what do you say to be conducive to the agni. Again, Bhojana Vidhi is said. That is some steps before you take your meal. One thing, it should be after bathing. Then only when you have sufficient hunger, like I told you, you should follow the symptoms of Jeevna Lakshana, that is proper digestion. Then after proper washing of hand, feet and face. After also offering prayers to gods and forefathers. And after offering food to guests, teachers and children, because we respect them and without disgracing the food, Animdan Gunjana. So we see that in some, certain customs, still this offering of prayers to gods and forefathers before taking a food is followed. But many of us do not, follow it in our day-to-day lives now. These are some of the foods for daily consumption. Shastika Chali rices are two varieties of rice. Mudga, like I told before, green gram, rock salt, Amalaka, Indian gooseberry, Yava barley, milk, ghee, the meat of jungle animals, which is animals of arid habitat, and honey. These are some articles that I found were interesting for further reading, and they have compared the Ayurvedic dietetics with biomedicine, and in certain diseases like diabetes mellitus and depressive disorder, they have seen how this diet affects these symptoms. And one interesting article I found was that they have compared ancient Thali diet and how it affects our gut microbiota, immunity, and health. And with this, the ancient Thali diet, actually, those foods of different colors and different ingredients improve the good microbiome and reduce the bad microbiome in our body. And because of the presence of many prebiotics, probiotics, and phytochemicals that are released. And so I think with this, we come to the end of our session. And thank you for your patient listening.
So thank you, Dr. Akhila. That was really a refreshing and a wonderful session. So post this COVID lockdown, I think most of us have developed a habit of cooking our own food. And in such a scenario, to know about one's food habits and what kind of food should be taken in what kind of a place and time was really interesting. So if we have any questions, we can discuss it now. So if you have any questions, please go to the chat box and you can message your questions to us. So we have questions. Please tell us about food for diabetics.
Okay, so food for diabetics, what do you actually want to know? Diabetics is firstly, it is increase of the kapha and medo dhatu. So it is best, of course, we know that there is insulin resistance and all that. So we advise to reduce the madhura ahara. But later on, what happens is that there is also increase of all the doshas. So it is always good to take all food products that reduce three doshas in nature. So and this amalaki, Indian gooseberry is very helpful in that case. And along with that, you should also engage in vyayama, daily exercise, apart from reducing madhura ahara.
Okay, coming on to the next question.
Wait. The food for diabetics would be, generally speaking, apart from what we know about high glycemic value of food, the suggestion from the classics is that nati sauhityam ashniyat. Do not overeat, or take little quantities of food for more time. There have been classification of all the food articles into those which have which reduce the kapha, as Akhila was saying, and those which are good in bringing down the energy or less calorific value. So based on that, the foods have been classified. The classification goes in terms of pulses, cereals, and everything, and more or less they are very similar to what is currently prevalent as dietetic advice for diabetics. So the stress on exercise, stress on food of low calorific value, and stress on bitter taste has been laid for diabetes. So anything that is bitter is to be consumed in a more quantity, is what has been said. If we have to get into details of each food, time wouldn't permit. But otherwise, the in ancient classics, the dietetic advice is quite similar to what is prescribed currently. But then the food has been classified, and there were certain food that would be taken. Now, here the another obvious question that comes is about the millets. Millets, consumption of millets as a staple is not advised in Ayurveda. Consumption of millets can be done off and on along with the main cereals and pulses that are taken. So they are known as millets are known as Kshudra Dhanya, and they enhance the Vata dosha. And in Prameha or Madhumeha, the involvement of Vata dosha is much more. So they can be consumed as auxiliary or as a part of food, which is not very frequent. So that is about the millets. Apart from that, most of the other bitter vegetables and low calorific value food has to be taken. So this is the general principle of diabetic food that has been suggested.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Could you please throw some light on regarding the diet for bronchial asthma? Because in the chat box we have another question related to bronchial asthma.
Yeah, bronchial asthma is, there are two main doshas that are involved. That is one, an obstruction which is caused by kapha, and the vimarga gamana, or a deviant or non-normal presentation of respiration. So depending on what is the obstruction and vata, or the amount of bouts of respiratory attacks. So based on that, the food is given, because even bronchial asthma goes into various stages of vata, pitta, and kapha. If it is an inflammatory stage, then pitta, or if there is lot of obstruction in the respiratory tract, it is kapha. And if there is a dry, like for example, if the patient presents with lot of rhonchi and not much of obstruction, less of crepitus, so that is when it is vata dominant. So if there is a vata dominance, then you have to take food that can have a little bit of ghee. Generally for bronchial asthma would be food that doesn't cause obstruction. Like for example, curds needs to be avoided. Heavy food needs to be avoided. Heavy food means food that takes a little longer time for digestion. Very simple example would be khichdi, and maybe say something which is prepared out of rava. Now, something which is prepared out of, for example, upma. Upma would take a little longer time. Now, anything that stays in the GIT for a longer time tends to produce a little bit of pressure more, not only in the abdomen but also in the on the respiratory system. That is one thing. Apart from pressure, because of the gurutva, there is the chances of obstruction is more. So, such kind of food for generally are to be taken that, can pass the GIT very easily, and after digestion does not produce effects that might enhance. Like for example, if you take very spicy food, that can also aggravate the situation. If you take food that is more of sweet and so on, that can also aggravate the situation. So it's like that. But otherwise, the diet for bronchial asthma as such would be to see that which is anabhyashyandi and which is does not produce srotorodha, that is obstruction to the channels. Then you have a usage of spices which are good in enhancing the bioavailability, enhancing the digestion and so on, and reducing the kapha. So generally kapahara is taken when there is a lot of obstruction, and when it is pure vata, where kapha is less but then the bronchoconstriction is more, then use of sneha, that is ghrita or ghee, and medicated ghee are given as medicine. But in the food, you can afford to take that which is good, which is a little more of snigdha and so on. So yeah.
Thank you, sir. So, Dr. Akila, we have another question, that is, should curds be avoided in the evenings?
Yeah.
Yes, curds are not to be taken. Akila, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So curd again is kapha vartaka. So it is better to avoid it during the evenings. It is better to take curds during the afternoon. And also it is recommended not to take it, very frequently, which is efficiently, like sir said. And it will cause further odor and it will lead to other diseases. And also it is said that in our classics not to come back, not to take it alone. Always dilute it or take it with gooseberry, amla, or some other spices. Not to take it alone and in with full fat and all. So it's not something which is atya or conducive at all time.
So these days we see that curds is mostly diluted with water and taken as buttermilk. So this form of taking is also better avoided. So another question we have is what are the diet restrictions or recommended diet for joint pains?
Again, every what do you say? Every symptom has to be evaluated for which dosha is involved. So joint pains usually come with vata associated with some other dosha. So vatahara would be preferred, which is vatahara means madhura, amla, and lavana rasas are vatahara in nature. So you have to take warm food that is with which is snigdhangshuous. You can add some ghee. And amla and lavana rasas are usually advised for Vatahara. But you have to also see the actual symptom, what is involved. Not just Vata, it might be Kapha also. So then we have to see what combination would be best for that.
And we need to avoid what causes that pain, what aggravates the pain. So that would be again curd, such things. So next would be how
Wait. Aditi, it depends on what is the reason for joint pain. If it is a rheumatism, if you're talking about rheumatism or any other metabolic reason like uric acid, that is a time when calorie reduction is suggested to reduce the pain. If it is degenerative, then use of ghee and oil, because degenerative arthritis is known as Vataja Sandhishula. So when there is pure Vata, like for example, we give medicated ghee in people suffering from degenerative joint disease. And the pain actually, they respond to this, the pain actually reduces very, the pain actually reduces within a week. And then the degenerative process also reduces. And we also advise them to, do a mild massage on the joints so that, they can get relief from the pain. But then if it is rheumatism or uric gout or such kind of things, then use of oil actually will enhance the pain, or that will increase the pain. So in that way, let's say if it is rheumatism, then we wouldn't recommend a lot of taking of ghee or oily substances. We would recommend that the calorie is reduced calorie. We would recommend not to take a lot of oily food, fried food. And in certain times, we advise people to avoid potatoes, brinjal, tomato, and such kind of things, because these three, we have seen that clinically they sometimes aggravate. Even spicy food will aggravate. So the dietary restrictions of people suffering from joint diseases differs like this. More detailed dietary plan can be given, but otherwise the principle is use of oil in degeneration, oil or ghee in degenerative arthritis, and then reduction of oil, opposite of this, reduction of oil and calories in rheumatism and metabolism related or metabolic arthritis. Yeah, next.
Thank you, sir. There is one more question, doctor. How to improve digestion in the COVID time, which restricts the movement?
Again, digestion, of course. When you are taking warm food, it will produce a better agni. Again, you can include ginger and garlic, which are natural appetizers in your food. Again, if you drink warm water that is boiled with ginger, one day ginger, then jeera, all these will improve your agni, I say. And also, um, avoiding the sedentary lifestyle, getting to some amount of walking or some amount of physical engagement will also help your agni.
That's what she's saying. It has restricted movement. So how do we do that? The only thing would be that, as Akhila said, you eat less. do not eat more, go into intermittent fasting, things like that. Take very light food, do not indulge in tastes, so avoid all junk foods and so on. So restriction of movement is generally not suggested, but then I think currently the situation has improved. You can take a walk in the morning, it's not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is another question in the chat box. Is it okay to combine two different types of millets? So I think we have got an answer also. So Dr. Umesh has replied to it. Barley has a special mentioning in Ayurveda for diabetes. Its flour can be used in different forms like roti, etc., intermittently with other anti-diabetic diet.
It is okay to mix millets. It's not a problem. It depends on, it depends on the taste. It depends on the way you make it. It's okay. There is no, because all Kshudra Dhanyas are Vata Vardhaka, and you can mix both, because, as we mix wheat and rice and prepare kheer. So mix using other different millets together is not at all a problem.
Yeah, so thank you. I think we are time tied right now, and we need to conclude this session. So thank you, Dr. Akhila, for such a wonderful sessions. Any more questions, you can definitely mail us. So thank you once again. Thank you, Dr. Kishore and Dr. Umesh, for the inputs.
Thank you.